All right, we're back. We are COMP125 in the summer 2018 semester at Centennial, and we are week 1, part 2 of our broadcast. We did part 1 yesterday at our first session. Today's our second session, and we're doing an intro to JavaScript today. Yesterday was more of a course intro and a little bit of a talk about what JavaScript, how you should use JavaScript. Almost like, you know, if you're going to use JavaScript, what's the right way to do it? Don't forget content, right? So first, let's do a bit of a quiz. Right, I'm going to do a little quiz online for those people who are not here yesterday. It's okay. I'm going to use something called polleverywhere.com, where we can do a little poll. So I'm going to do a couple things, a couple quizzes. Let's see how good you guys are. Here's the quiz I'm going to make. The question is, actually, we'll do one of these. You know, what are the 3 main uses of GitHub? That's the first part. Okay, so let's do that. So it's a word cloud that we're going to do, right? And what I'm going to do here is, if you want to, let me just set this up for a second. Oops. Let me set this up on visibility. Just 1 second. Everyone, you can do, it's going to be completely anonymous. I don't care who you are, right? So anyone can participate. How people can respond, only with the website, no texting. So you can see that that's changed. Right, and you can respond by, you know, putting in your response. And just go here, number of response settings. So I'm going to say each person is allowed 1 response, so you can't respond more than 1 time. And you can, I'm not going to allow your changes. So whatever you respond the first time is your response. Okay, it's live. Go ahead. So I'm waiting for your response. What are the 3 main uses of GitHub? Go ahead. Don't answer me. Respond online. I could, yes. It's actually, this is the link. This belongs to me. So unfortunately, they changed my link. It was learn. I had learn, and they didn't like that, right? So just go to pollev.com. Hold on, I'll put it up on Slack for you guys, and then learn 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's it. That's for the poll. All right. So if you guys, okay, collaboration. I like that. Snapshots. Let's keep going. Let's see what other things you can use GitHub for. Come on, it's just a warm up. It's a warm up for you guys since you guys are coming in. I want to see some other reasons why we use GitHub. pollev.com/learn123. So if you don't need to go through Slack. No, that's Slack is just a link. So go up on the website pollev.com/learn123. And then you can respond. All right, cool. So we got some safeguarding. We got some snapshots. We want to track progress, history, files, collaboration. These are all good things, right? What, you messed up? Lots of reasons. Okay. Oh, well. I can't tell who you are. So this is interesting. I mean, think about all the uses we're thinking about, right? About using GitHub. You can push to GitHub. You can do all kinds of stuff with GitHub. pollev.com/learn123. Okay. And then once you've done that, you know, it's a repository, you know, this kind of stuff. So the big one is GitHub. Which is kind of weird. What are the 3 reasons for GitHub? GitHub is not the main reason. So for you guys, a lot of you are saying the reason why it's so big is because GitHub is the response that you're giving me, right? That's wrong. That's pretty funny. Yeah, so it's backup. I said a couple things. I'm going to stop the poll in a second. But basically the 3 things are for you guys to remember. This is a kind of a feedback for me too, to see if you guys know what I was talking about yesterday. So I think we have to work a little bit more on this one, but I got some good answers, but really the thing is backup. There it is. Now people are saying backup. Backup, version control, and collaboration. Those are the 3 things. The reason why I'm going to close the poll down now. This is just for your thing, right? So it's closed. But that's interesting, this little word cloud we made. Backup seems to be the main thing, but don't forget version control and collaboration. Those are the 3 main reasons why we use GitHub.
I forgot that one. But when we try to type and enter, it's submitted. backup, and then we want to write the two other options also.
Only one option. I just want you to write one. You can also put commas, eh? Comma, comma, comma. You could do that.
Right.
Okay? All right. So that's the first one. Let's do one more. Let's do one more. Don't worry. It's not. You're not being marked, right? You're not being marked, right? So, so let's talk about what we talked about yesterday, which is one more. And I'm going to ask you, I want you to think about what are the 3 challenges of JavaScript. So what are, and instead of 3, just what are the challenges? Challenges of using JavaScript, let's say. Right? So challenges meaning from a perspective. I'll say from a developer's perspective. Just the stuff we talked about yesterday. I want to kind of get an idea of perspective. Here we go. Okay, and again, it's going to be this fun word cloud thing. I'm going to create it. I'm going to do the same kind of things we did last time. It's going to still be the same option, so the same place. You're going to go. It's not up yet. I'm going to make it available in a second. So let's try this out. So completely anonymous. So I don't know who you are. I don't care right now. It's just a matter of you responding. Only you can respond once. Okay, so only respond once. I will not allow changes. So just put in your own response. So I want you to get your ideas on some of this kind of stuff, right? So just to understand. Okay, it's up now. Go ahead. pollev.com/learn123. What are the challenges of using JavaScript from a developer's perspective? And this is from yesterday. See what you can come up with. Maybe a word or two. And see what you guys come up with. Again, this is just to warm you up, just to get you to start thinking about what we talked about yesterday a little bit, right? Because I know we're developers here. We're going to talk about code, but at the same time, I want you guys to make this as interactive as possible. I don't have any response. Oh, there we go. Spaghetti. There we go. Language. Okay. Websites. Websites. That's good. That's good spelling. Websites. Enhancement. Okay. Progressive. It's progressive. Okay. Controls. Code. Function. All right. Interesting. Polyfills. Okay, someone went into the whole polyfills thing. That's interesting. Polyfills is a good answer. I think it's a good thing to talk about. Browser, scope. I like the scope idea. That's a good response. Those things. Embedded. We talked about the advantages of embedded JavaScript over the disadvantages over embedded JavaScript over external JavaScript. We talked about that yesterday. A lot of function. I don't know what the function thing is, but okay. Let's see what else we talked about here. All right, and some responses. We're just getting pretty good. And we also have Java. Okay, I'll talk about that. JavaScript is not Java. It doesn't have any relation to Java whatsoever. But however, it was named JavaScript. Here's some history for you guys while we're doing this. It was named JavaScript because Java was a hot language at the time. The original name of JavaScript was LiveScript, which actually is probably a better name, LiveScript, right? Which is really what it does. And then, it was so popular, so they called it JavaScript. It's a scripting language, not a programming language. That was the original intent. And it was a quick and dirty. I'm just going to stop the poll now. This is interesting that you guys had a chance to reflect a little bit. I do these. I try and do them once a week. I try and get you ideas. I could have asked more questions, but I think we should get into it. And we'll do more like this. The other thing I want to introduce you to is something called Concept Board. All right. So I'm going to put this link up in a second. Concept Board. And let's see if I can actually get in here with my email address. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it'll just be probably with Google. There we go. Yeah, that's me. Anyway, so Concept Board is kind of neat because it allows us to kind of, instead of me calling you up on the board and do some code, what it'll allow us to do is, we can create a new concept board together. So here's a new board that I'm going to make right now. And we'll just call this board, we'll reuse this board. We'll call it COMP125 Summer 2018. That's the board that we're going to use, right? Here's the concept board. And I'm going to share this board with you. Okay, so the way it works is here's the link. So here's the link. You will access as an editor. So you have access as an editor. And let's see if I can grab that link. And then if I put this on Slack for you guys, let's see if that works. That doesn't work. Let's see if I can grab this link. And what does it say here? All right, there's also that. That's not really useful. I wanted to share. Where's my boards? Boards. Yeah, there's a couple boards. Attachments, access settings. I think it's just this. All right, let's see if I can take this link and put it in here. So this is kind of neat. Here it is. Try this out, please. Go there. It's on Slack. Right. What it allows us to do is put up these little sticky notes. Right. So I'm going to try and use this semester as well. I've been trying to do it a while. So a good example is this. If I take this sticky note and I just drag it onto my screen like this, there we go. I got some other person in there, right? I can write some code. Like I can write that iffy, right? So the iffy was, so here's the iffy, right? So someone else is moving the red arrow, not me, right? And I can put in something like function. You know, this is the iffy that we did yesterday, right? Do what you want. I'm not gonna limit you. This is just for you guys, so that way you can do it. And you can see that that was the iffy, right? So now, okay, so you can try and, okay, put in someone else. If anyone can remember what we did yesterday, can we put in the function that I used yesterday in here?
Excuse me, John?
Yeah?
You're adding an extra parenthesis at the end.
Right, I did. So here it is, and I got this parenthesis here. It is not part of the function, no, but it is required. It's required. Everything here is required that I've given you, right? So notice that there's a parenthesis in the front too. So this is why this one here is in the inside. Well, that's what it is. But it's good observations. But go ahead. If anyone wants to add in all the stuff that I put in, what does an iffy stand for? Can someone put in the what this iffy stands for over here? Can you type it in here? I did my sticky note. Can someone go in there and type it in? Or do you want to create another one of your own stickies and type in what that means? What's an iffy? Go ahead and check this out. So we got a lot of little, people coming in here. Okay, guys, some rules about using concept board with us together. Please don't draw all over the place, okay? You can do this, all right? Please don't put in cat pictures or videos or anything like that. This is for us almost like a whiteboard that we're all on right now together, right? So let's see if you guys can come up with your own. What's the definition of iffy? If you guys can come up with this, maybe your own little sticker. So far, no one's done it. People have logged in, but just, or just modify my sticker. Go in there and modify my sticker and put in next to the comment there what the definition of iffy is, if someone can try and do that. So far, no one's done it. A lot of people moving mouse around, yeah. What's wrong? Yeah, put it in. Type it in. Type it in up here on concept board. Go, right? Yeah. Huh? Well, make your own sticky note. On the top, oh, there, someone did it. There we go, someone did it. Immediately invoke function expression. Yay, that's fantastic. Now, what you can do is you can kind of, click away, as an example, click a sticky note, delete it, right? And if you notice the hands here, here's their hands and the arrow. If I go into the sticky note, I can move someone else's sticky note around, right? Or I can go in there and type, or I can draw like this, right? So, for example, if I want to draw stuff, and I want to draw things around GitHub today. So we talked about GitHub being, here's your local repository right here, right? So we've got my local repository. Here's local. And what I have over here is the cloud, right? We talked about this yesterday. So here's the cloud, right? And what I want to do is create a connection between this local repository and the cloud. What's that connection called? Put a note next to it for someone who remembers. There's a note. There's a connection. This connection, what is it called? It's a special name for it. It's not just connection. Come on and see if you guys can remember from yesterday. I'll give you another few seconds. It's important because I know you guys are like looking at it. Hey, someone put anonymous self-executing function, which is kind of what it is in the iffy thing, but that's pretty cool. So does anyone remember what that connection was called? It's a special name for Git that Git uses to name connections.
I cannot get into it.
I put it up on Slack. Go take a look at it. You should be able to.
Yeah, you have to. So you create an account or sign in as a guest.
Yeah. All right. So let's see if I can make a little comment. I can put a comment over here for those people. You can actually comment, and I can put in something like, It's called a remote, right? That's what it's called for those people who remember, right? So, and the great thing about comments is, again, I can move this comment around, right? And I can kind of point to this thing and say, this is a remote, right? That's what this thing is. It's a remote, okay? So I want to show, I'm showing you how to use concept board because we're going to come back to this. I'm going to ask you to do this a bunch of times. It's interactive, so you have all access with me. Even if you're watching from home, you can do this with me, right? And I see a lot of arrows everywhere, but we're going to come back to this. Okay, cool. So, so I have this remote, and what's the command? Can someone put the command that I have to use to initialize my Git repository locally? What's the command? It's git something. What do I have to do here? Put the command. Don't call it out. See if you can type it out here. What's my command to initialize my Git repository? What is it? Come on, guys. Here locally, down here in where my local object is. Someone's drawing. Someone's got some stuff. I don't know what they're drawing. Please don't draw unless it makes sense. It looks like init. It looks like, but try and use a comment next time like this. It might be a little clearer for you instead of drawing the option, right? So instead of get, it's not get, it's git and it's init, git init. So let me put a comment in there. Again, I'll show you guys how this works. So I put a comment in here to point to it, and it's really the first thing is git init. That's the first one, right? And if you notice, that's the first one to initialize GitHub, right? So git init. All right, cool. Now after I've initialized my Git repository, what do I do? What's the next step? I need to add my files. What's the next command? Command that I need to put in Git. Put it next to my comment over here in a comment, and just again, and put in the next command next to it over here somewhere if you can. Right? I know it's kind of hard to see because I'm probably blocking it, but somewhere over here, somewhere on the right side. There we go. Someone's actually doing it. What's the next command that I got to put in? Right? So git init was something, yeah, for sure. But now there's another command that I got to put in here, right? I want to add all my files. What is that command? Let's see if someone can actually do it. I know, it's like we're swimming. There's all these fish all over the place. They're swimming around.
No one knows how to use it yet either.
Oh, that's good. Okay, well, that's why we're doing it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so it is git add, but it's actually git add dot, right? So git add is the correct command, right? It's actually let's put in git add dot. Git add dot. That's the command. All right. So git add dot is the command. Dot meaning everything. Right. Okay. So I've added everything in my repository, and now what's the next command? What do I do next? So I've initialized. I've added everything. What's the third thing I need to do? You must do this every time you initialize a repository for the first time. What is the third thing you need to do? Let's see if you guys can do this. By the way, we can actually look outside of this thing. Like this thing is quite large. It's a big board. I can scroll in and out anywhere I want. We can push this aside. It's a really quite of a neat little piece of technology that these guys offer for free, right? So
How do you get this channel?
Huh?
Toolbar?
which toolbar?
At the top. The top and
Oh, that toolbar? I don't know. It's available for me. I guess there's this little number. There's little things on the side here. I'm sure that if I do this, it'll kind of just make it disappear and come back. Right. All right, so yeah, git commit. That was good. That was really good. So whoever put that, John, good work. Git commit is good. It is good. So just git commit by itself. Git commit, and then what you need to put is -m for message, right? And then either initial commit or first commit. Those are the two things we need to put in. So I put in initial commit. I know other places like first commit, but that's what it should be, right? So pretty close. So git add dot. Git commit -m initial commit. Okay, now we've got our local repository, right? I've got my remote, and remember what we had to do? We had to create a remote repo on GitHub. This is all local stuff. This is all for the local, repo down here, right? That's all it is. And so we're not connected at all to my GitHub account. I need to create a GitHub account. I need to, if you don't have one, I need to create a GitHub repo with its own name. Every GitHub repo has a unique name, right? That you have to give it for inside of your account. My repo and your repo could be named the same thing because my account and your account are different. So it's okay. But in your local account, you need to have your own name. Someone's fooling around with comments. That's good. All right. Does that make sense? So some really cool stuff. So I'm using this concept board. I'm going to come back to this because I'm going to ask you coding questions. And I'm going to say, okay, what code should I put in here? And instead of putting up your hand and shouting it out, we're going to put it up, right? So everyone can see it. And it's recorded here live on YouTube. So everyone knows, you know, kind of the stuff we're talking about on YouTube, this kind of stuff, right? So we can go back and recall what we talked about. All right, so we know what to do with initialization. We'll talk about connecting to the remote in a second. Thank you guys for that. That's just a little bit of interactivity just to keep you guys alive and awake this morning, right? Some people are not awake until 12 o'clock for some reason. I'm not one of them, but some people are like that. All right, so what I want to do here is recall what we did yesterday. So I'm just pulling up the files that I had yesterday. I had this file called, oops, not that one. It was called COMP125. Lesson 1A was a folder on my desktop. If you don't have this, or if you weren't here yesterday, that's okay. Or if you're not even in the class, you can always go to github.com, right? Remember our little repo? Here's our github.com. And the top repo here listed, right, under Centennial College, this repo is the one you can use. So you can actually go here, download mine, because you know it's going to work, because we made it work yesterday. So you can download or clone the repository. Now there's two options here when it comes to looking at a repository. Clone or download. Let me talk about them for a second. And there's also something up here called fork. It's kind of a funny developer joke. Fork me, man. Fork me, right? Fork me means actually create your own copy of the repo on your own GitHub account, right? That's what it means. In this case, you don't have to do this. But here, clone or download, you can see that this will give you the link for the repo. That's what this thing does, right? And you can also open it in Visual Studio. We'll talk about that today, right? You can also open up in desktop. And in order for you to open up in desktop, you need to actually have the desktop app for GitHub, okay? We'll talk about that today. And then you can download the zip file. If you download the zip file, let me do this for you. So I download my zip file, so I'm downloading it. And then again, I want to put it up on somewhere on my desktop. So for now, I'm going to go to desktop. Here it is. And I'm just saving it, you know, as an example. This is where I want to move it. Right now, it's in my downloads. Here's my downloads somewhere in this long list. Right. Let's go date modify. There we go. So here's my downloads. And what I want to do is I want to use 7-zip. Some of you like using RAR and unRAR. Please do never give me RAR files, okay? They don't work properly sometimes when you put them up on eCentennial. Sometimes they come out empty, right, and a bunch of other stuff. And it's hard for me to be compatible with RAR all the time. I also use a Mac, so please use 7-zip, and we'll talk about where to get that in a second. Please do not use RAR or any other compression method.
Windows 10 can also do zips.
Yes, but use 7-zip. It's easier. It's far easier. Huh? Who? Gzip? No, 7-zip. As long as it works. As long as it's zip archive, I'm good, right? But notice I'm going to extract here to this thing here. I can extract to, right? And when I do that, I'm going to have this master folder right here, right, which I can cut. And I'll put this on my desktop for now. So I'll just put it somewhere on my desktop in this messy, crazy desktop that I've got going on. Right, so I'll paste it. And notice when I have this file downloaded, it comes with the following name, COMP125 S2018 lesson 1A -master, because it comes from the master branch. Back to concept board for a second. So if we go back to concept board, and we've got some, you know, some chatter here. Let's go down. I'm just going to go kind of flow down here a little bit, right? So I want you to think about the repositories like this. So I'm down further down here in concept board right now. So again, just to draw it a little bit, we have, you know, our initial branch. So I want you to think about it as like this initial commit, right? So this is our initial commit. It's just a block that I'm putting in. And maybe I have some additional commits. I have another commit and I have another commit. This is, you know, kind of a map of my development journey, right? I'm developing my objects here, commit, commit, commit. And then this is called the master branch, this big line of commits, right? But what if I want to have some kind of, I want to add a feature, or I want to do some debugging. I don't want to mess up my master branch because maybe it's working right now. So what I can do, is I can create another branch. Notice that I'm branching off of the master branch. Here's my master branch. I've got a leaf that's coming off the master branch over here and created a new branch. Maybe this is the debugging branch or the new feature branch or whatever. I can continue to create commits on this branch here, right, as an example. And then eventually, maybe someone else might be on the master branch, continue to do work, something like this. Eventually, what I want to do, though, is I want to kind of merge back in. So this is what kind of happens, right? And when I merge back in, the master branch kind of gets synchronized with my new commits. And it has all of these commits plus all of these commits, okay? Sometimes what we get, my friends, when we do this kind of part right here is something called merge conflicts, right? For now, for us, we don't have to worry about it because I'm giving you GitHub stuff. You're the only contributor. There's no problems. But when you're working with somebody else on a project, you might get something called merge conflicts because more than one person is modifying the same files. But this is what the master branch is. This is what the master branch, kind of a visual of what the master branch might look like. Thank you for drawing around that. Makes sense? So going back to this then, right? Going back to this thing here, I've got my master branch. I downloaded it. And then here it is. When I go back to my files, it says COMP125 S2018 lesson 1A master because it's taking from the master branch. Okay? Notice it's the exact same content in here. I got my index.html. If I double click on it, it's still going to work, right? Hello world. All that same stuff. So we can start from there. So please, if you haven't been here yesterday and you're coming back today or whatever, and maybe your stuff didn't work yesterday when you were working with me, use my files instead of yours. So that way we're on the same page. Okay?
You just need to click this link and go to the
download. Yeah. Now, yeah, it'll download it into your downloads. Okay, so now the next one is that we also talked about the other option to do it, which is there's something called the desktop app. So desktop.github, I believe, .com. I'm going there. There is a native desktop application that's built by GitHub, right? And what it does is if you really are afraid about command line, you hate command line, you never want to use it, you want something visual because, hey, by the way, we're all addicted to UI, right? User interface, right? Then you want to use this desktop app. It's perfectly acceptable. For me, I'm not going to rank you on how you do it. I don't care if you use the command line or not. I recommend it, right? But if you really don't want to do it, and if you want to use some kind of desktop application, you can use this one. It's coming right from GitHub. It's for Mac and for Windows. Unfortunately, it's not for Linux. They have their own. But those two apps are there for you to help you. And I'm going to put this up on our Slack channel so you can see it as well, just in case you want to download that. Okay? But again, why am I showing you this? Because there's this option, open in desktop, and that's the only way that's going to work is if you have the desktop app, okay, for GitHub. Open in Visual Studio is the other option, and we don't have a Visual Studio project right now, but I'm going to quickly create one for you, just in case you hate Visual Studio Code, you don't like code editors, and you want a full-fledged IDE, and you're used to Visual Studio, because I know Joanne's class is using Visual Studio as well. Just in case, for compatibility reasons, let's make a new one in Visual Studio. So I'll open up a new Visual Studio project. I'm using Visual Studio 2017 here, Enterprise Edition. I've downloaded it from Microsoft officially, right? And you can do that too because you guys are all students. You can go to e5.onthehub.com and you can download your stuff. If you don't know what that is,
you do need to download the hub for the desktop.
Hold on a second. e5.onthehub. Oops, if I can type properly. e5.onthehub.com. e5.onthehub.com is sponsored by Microsoft. Hopefully it's going to work. There we go. And what it is you get free software if you're a student. So you guys should know all this already. But just in case you don't, here it is. And you can see that there's students and faculty, right? So if I click students, you can see these are all the kind of, there's no costs. You can put in your school and so on, and you can try and search for it. Here's my country, Canada. Here's my state, Ontario. I'm just going to show you how to do this. And I want to type my school, type the first few letters, Centennial. Here's my Centennial College right here, this one. And then it's going to show the department. We're going to be in ICT, right, which is this one, ICT CTES, right? And you can see that these are all the free applications you can download here, now you have to be subscribed. Part of it, you have to be a student here or whatever. But you can see if I look at view all software, you can see that these are all the free software programs we get as students and professors at Centennial, and every school has something like this. Okay, for the most part. So if you wanted Visual Studio Enterprise, like I have, you can go here, download Visual Studio Enterprise 2017. As an example, you can choose different languages if you want as well. You can add it to the cart, download it, and away you go. You'll have Visual Studio 2017 Enterprise, right? Which is kind of cool. So that's where I got it. I just wanted to show you that, so you have that. So e5onthehub.com is where you start, and you can get it from there. I'm just going to close that off because I don't really need that. It's not part of my program. No, you don't. I just put it out there just in case you wanted to. I'm not going to use it. I'm going to use command line.
Okay, so I've downloaded the zip file.
And then you unzip it somewhere in your folder, and you drag and drop it into Visual Studio Code. Yeah. All right, but here we are in Visual Studio. Let's suppose we're doing something new with Visual Studio. We'll do this for the first time, one time. So we've done this. So we can say we're aligned with Joanne and her courses, right? Because I know she's going to be using Visual Studio. So we're going to say File, New, Project. Notice that there's 3 types. There's a bunch of stuff we can do here. File new project, file new website, file new repository. Please don't do file new website. Do a project. And I'll tell you the differences between a project and a website in a second. If you do websites, bad things may happen. It may not look the same. Do project, please. All right, so now a new project. It's gonna, if everything is installed. Now, in order for you to have the options I have, you need to have everything installed that I have. So you need to have a full Visual Studio 2017 experience installed to have all the languages that I have. One thing you do need to have is your .NET, ASP.NET installed in order for you to have these 3 templates. Okay, so
Visual Studio is only ASP.NET.
Correct.
Nothing else.
You can also do Node.js and a bunch of other stuff. But for now, this is the path that I want you to use. So again, Visual Studio, you're going to be under, doesn't matter if it says Visual C#, you're going to go into web. You can also look at other languages. You can see that there's other options here, right? There's TypeScript as well. We're not going to get there. There's also JavaScript if you want to kind of create a mobile app or a Node.js app. But for us, all we need to go into under Visual C# is web. And then you see that there's 3 templates. One of them is ASP.NET Web Application. Then there's Core Web. These 2 core, forget these. This is the one you want. And then on the top here, notice I have, I'm just going to put this up a little bit. Notice that I have this checked on, which is Create Directory for Solution. I want that on. So this is, remember, an IDE. So here you're going to have a solution folder. And inside the solution, you can have many projects. That's how it works with C# and with ASP.NET. Okay. Notice also that my .NET framework right now is the one that I have is I'm using 4.7. You might have something else like 4.6 something, and that's fine. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to name my project the same thing. So I'm going to say COMP125 Summer 2018 Lesson 1, and we're going to call this Lesson 1 A-VS. So we know it's like it's Visual Studio. We're just going to redo the A application that we did yesterday, right? And notice where it's going. It's going to, by default, see users, my name, documents, Visual Studio 2017 projects. You can redirect this to make it go wherever you like. Also, I have this option checked, which says create new Git repository. That's already there, right? Yours might say add to source control, right? If you've never created a Git repository before.
Yes.
So that's fine. Just click that. If it says add to source control, click that on. And then press OK. All right, now you're going to have a choice of templates again. And you don't want web forms or any of the other ones. Empty is what you want. And don't check any of these other things. Just empty. And then press OK. What it's going to do is it's going to create a new empty project inside the solution. And initially, they're going to be called the same thing. But you can recall, you can make new projects and whatever in a second. Now, I'm just going to close this off. You don't need this welcome, right? So that's what this thing is. It's a welcome screen. Oh, it's my Visual Studio is running so fast, and it's giving me lots of errors, right? Sure, you can give me the error. So I'm going to just close this off. And now you can see on the right-hand side, I know it's kind of hard to see. I'm going to shift into a different viewing in a second just so you guys can see better. Again, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my display settings, and I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to change from 100% to 150 for now, so you guys can see Visual Studio a little better, because otherwise it'll come in really small. There we go. That's a little better. So notice on the right-hand side in Visual Studio, and if you're familiar with C#, right, which you should have done already on COMP100, and you probably are doing COMP123 right now, right? So you should be able to see the same project style. One is, here's the solution level. This is the solution for your project. And you can have many projects. This is the only project that's in there, right? Right now I only have one project called COMP125 S2018 Lesson 1 AVS for Visual Studio. I have properties and a bunch of other crap in here, which I don't need, right? But hey, we're doing the Microsoft way. So we have extra information just in case you wanted to put it up on Microsoft Azure or make it compatible with a Microsoft web server, right? That's what these are for, especially web config. Web config is one of the most important files in here if you're going to make it compatible with Microsoft, right? All right, so I want to do kind of the same thing I did last time. I want to create my 3 folders, right? So I'm going to right-click here, and I'm going to go Add, New Folder, right? So here's the new solution folder. Oops, in here under Projects. Let's try that again. Add. There we go. New folder, and I want to put in content. Remember, I did this yesterday. What are the other 2 folders? I got 2 more folders: scripts and assets. Assets, right? So again, I want to go add, right? New folder, scripts. Hey, I made a mistake. Can I correct it like this? Look, I made a mistake here. Can I do the same thing and pull this out like I did with Visual Studio? Come on, why not? Can I pull it out? What the heck? Why not? How about if I cut and paste? Is that possible? Wow, look, it doesn't kind of work, right? That's the advantage why I like Visual Studio Code so much easier.
You can click and drag it into the top code.
Oh, here, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, but that's kind of weird.
I know.
So content scripts, okay, cool. And the other one is, I'm going to click down here again. So I'm going to click here and go right-click, add new folder, and we're going to call this, so content scripts and assets, just like we did before, all the same stuff, right? And those are the 3 options we have. We also need an index.html, so we're going to put that in here. So remember we did this, so we made an index.html, so add, right? And now you can see that I have some quick hits. An HTML page might be here, right? And you also might be able to do things to a new item. If you go to new item, there's going to give a dialog box, and you can choose HTML page if you want, right? Now you don't want it to be called HTML page 1. It needs to be index.html. Please never name it HTML page 1 or my home page or my funky page or anything else. Index.html, and press enter. And when you do, it's going to generate this set of stuff. Oh, man, look at all this stuff I have to add in. I have to add in, you know, HTML lang, right, is equal to English. I need to do that. Hold on a second. I got this meta tag I got to put in here. I got to put meta. I got to put my name is equal to viewports. I got to put my content is equal to width. Hold on. Is equal to device dash width. Right? Initial scale 1. This is all done for me before, right? Mm-hmm. Right? And I did this, and I also have another one for my IE, which I don't care about. And here on title, I want to put in, like, you know, welcome or COMP125 welcome, right? And then that's what we did there. We also put in some. This is just refresher, right? So don't worry about. No. I want you guys to see it, right? And then this is my CSS section. We did this in here, right? We don't have CSS yet. And then the bottom here, we also had a JavaScript section, right? Now we have that too. Save. So this is kind of the same thing as what we did before, kind of. Don't you worry. And then under my content, I want to add a new file, a new item, which is a style sheet. There's my style sheet, which we're going to call app.css. Same as we did last time, right? So here's my app.css. We don't care about the body. We're just going to put some comments in here that says, oops, custom CSS goes here. That's what we did yesterday, right? This is all review. And we also had in our scripts file, we had a new JavaScript file, right? Here's a JavaScript file. You can do it this way too with a quick hit menu in here, right? And we're going to call this JavaScript file app.js. Here's my app.js. And we're going to put in some comments like we did yesterday. What did we put in? We put in an immediately invoke function expression, right? And we also had in the content for this, which is function, right? And we had these two braces at the end, right? It looks like this. And we had a start function here, function start, right? And we also had this other thing, window.onload. Notice that I get some good code hinting here, just like I did with Visual Studio Code start, right? So that's the kind of thing that I had in here, right? Okay, now I talked about what I don't like about Visual Studio, but I'm going to talk about what I like about Visual Studio that I wish Visual Studio Code had. Remember, this is a full-fledged IDE, so it does a lot of stuff for you. For example, I want to include my CSS section in here. Drag and drop. I want to include my app.js. Drag and drop. There's no, kind of thought around it. You don't care about, pathing or anything. It's done. It's done, and I like it, and I don't like it. I don't like it because I don't have to think about anything at all. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's almost like, hey, I don't know what the pathing is. And if I asked you to correct the path, you'd be like, what's path? I don't know. In my opinion, it's if you're an advanced learner, this is great for rapid application development because you know what to do. But if you've never done it before and you don't know what's happening here, there's a lot of stuff being done for you that you kind of don't understand. So here I would put in a // Remember, I kind of put this / in here. Same thing over here. // we'll talk about that later on. But it's kind of like, well, that's weird, a path a path thing that I can put in, which is a relative path. That's what it is. Sometimes you don't want to put // you want to put just // and / means go to the root and then from there look at content or scripts or whatever. I'm using // for a reason, and we'll come back to it later. I also want to put that h1 tag, so I want to put in that, like you were mentioning, which is kind of hello world, right? We had that in there. We also had in our app.js, remember we had that little console.log, which is the console function similar to what we had in there, which is kind of a app started. That's what we kind of had in there, right? And we also had kind of a console.log. By the way, you can also put instead of console.log, you can put a console.info and a console.error and a console.other things, right? Which is kind of neat because it changes the color of your console, right? So example, I can put console.info, right? And I'll show you this one. And the info will just be like a line, which is kind of weird. There's no info here at all, right? It's just a line, decoration basically. And then a console.error, right? This is an error. This is kind of new. It's something I didn't do yesterday, right? But it's okay. I want you to see the difference between the three. Log, info, and error. It's still outputting some kind of comments to the console on our browser. That's all it's doing. It's not coming to anywhere else, only on the browser. All right, cool. So I've got my little website, and I'm good to go. And, I want to save all, Visual Studio way. And what I want to do is launch this thing, right? So notice on the top here, it says Firefox. Well, you can launch it with whatever you want. I can choose Chrome. Chrome has, some really weird, funky security settings that will give a little warning, but just ignore it. So if I click Google Chrome, it'll pull up Google Chrome. It'll run something called Internet Information Services, right, which is bundled. See this? This little warning? It just tells you, hey, wait, there's some problem with Chrome. But notice I have Hello World. It still gives me Hello World. Just give me this little warning saying, there's a problem, there's security problems, blah, blah, what should I do? But don't worry about it. And then if I go inspect, you can see that it's still Chrome. I can look at the console, and I got some errors. Look, this is an error, right? And notice what happened down here, right? Because I put an error in here, it also, by the way, is looking for a favicon, right? So this is my info. And then when I put this is an error, it tells me where I put my error, right? This is not really an error. I just made it an error. I made it look like an error. Okay, let's try this again. So while I'm still running, I'm still in run mode, right? I want to change this to, instead of error, let's put this back to a warning, right? To see what that looks like. And if I go save and refresh, then we can see that this is an error, it turns into a warning, right? So you can see that we can put this stuff in here. Why would we put this stuff in? Why would we introduce errors on our console or whatever? Because if I'm giving my code to some other user, right, and I want to say that they're using something that is deprecated, as an example, a piece of code that I wrote, that I rewrote, but for compatibility reasons, maybe I kept it. I can put in a kind of a message saying, hey, user, I wrote something else. This is okay, but I prefer to use this other thing. This is deprecated, and you'll see some deprecation warnings up here. So deprecated means it's something we're not using anymore. It's an old piece of code, but I've kind of written something newer, you know, this kind of stuff. And you can see the lines, line 4, line 5, line 6. Okay? And you can't see this, but this is actually blue. This thing here, even though it's an info actually comes out blue. Warning comes out like yellow, and error is red. So kind of interesting ways of doing stuff. But you can see that this all works. So is anything wrong with using Visual Studio? No. But there's a layer of abstraction that is higher up. For example, what about my GitHub? What do I need to do now for GitHub? Well, this is where we get into a few problems. So I'm going to stop this. I'm going to stop debugging. I'm going to go into another tab here called Team Explorer, which is part of Visual Studio's ecosystem. And if you notice, I've got some changes. These are all the changes that I made, right? Nice. It looks beautiful. And I want to add all these changes. So I sign them all up. These are, when I add this, when I click that button, that's like me going git add dot. That's what I just did. I got nothing to do. I don't care about command line. It just happens in the background, right? And then I want to add a commit. So I'm going to say initial commit. Right? And I commit my stage changes. Boop, right? Yeah, I got my commit. Local commit. Now I need to set up remote. Remote. So if you notice here, if I'm going to click home, right, I'm going to go to sync. That's how you do it on Visual Studio. Now, my unfortunate problem is I have a problem pushing to my remote. I have an issue with my Visual Studio right now. I need to set up my remote first before I can publish to it. In fact, it will never publish to Git. I don't know why. I got to fix it. But normally what you do is you click on Publish Git Repo. It's going to ask you for the link for this repo that you want to publish to. This is that link that you get from your repository online. So what I would do is, if I went to my repository, I want to create a new repository here. Remember, we did this yesterday. Creating a repository is like this. I go to my account. There's two options, my plus here and the new here, right? If I click the plus or the new, it's going to give me an option to create a repository, which I'm going to do. So it's COMP125, S2018. I can use this one, but once I start going less than 1A, it gives me this warning that it's already there because I already made that yesterday. But mine should be -VS because that is the new repository that I'm making, okay? I could do other things too. I can make another branch. I could do a bunch. But for now, let's make another repository, okay? I'm making it public, and I'm clicking Create Repository. When I do this, I get a link, this link right here, right? Just like yesterday, right? Notice I can set up in desktop. I can do a bunch of stuff. But all I want to do is copy this link, which you can do by clicking this button too. And when I click this button and go back to Visual Studio and put it in here, now this is my remote. I'm defining my remote repo right here. Now, typically, what I would be able to do is click Publish, and we'd be done. One and done. But I have a problem. No, I just have a problem. I have a problem with my Visual Studio installation. I got to fix it because there was another app that was here called GitHub for Visual Studio. And as you saw in the beginning, there was these errors that came up. It's causing me a problem to push. But this is all you do. Click Publish, and then what it would do is push the branch. See how it says failed? It's not really failing. What it's doing is it's got an issue with with me pushing from Visual Studio. But it's all correctable. Here's how you can correct it if you get that error. I can go right-click on this, and on the bottom, I can open this file in Explorer, right? That's one thing I can do, open folder in a File Explorer. So here's my folder in File Explorer, right? And I can still go back, just like I did before. Notice that there's the hidden Git folder. My hidden Git folder is right here, right? Like I normally had. And there's my project, less than 1 AVS. I can find it immediately by just using this, right? And then I can still do what I did yesterday. I can still pull up commands, right? My command prompt to fix it. I can go CD and then just drag and drop it in here, right? And then I can just do git push origin, right? And I'll probably put a -u in there for unconditional for now. Don't worry about what this is. Only the first time. Oop, if I can put heavy master properly. And then if I press enter, it's going to push it like normal. It's not going to have a problem doing it. It pushes, right? It's just my connection from Visual Studio to my command prompts is broken, and I got to fix it. So it's kind of the same thing. Now, if you notice here on the bottom right in Visual Studio, and this is a great thing, look, it tells me my master branch on the bottom right. It tells me that the name of my repo right here locally. And under Team Explorer, you can see that if I go home and if I go to branches, you can see that I have a master branch, and I also have in my remote, there's an origin remote, and it's connected to master. That's what it's done. This is local, this is remote. So it's kind of a visual representation of what I've been doing with command line. That's what Visual Studio does. It's not a bad thing. I'm not telling you it's bad. And especially for ASP.NET solutions with Visual Studio and C#, I recommend it, actually, right? Visual Studio.
For the next semester.
But we're not doing this. We're doing Visual Studio code, right? Let's take a look at my repository here and see what happened.
So
Yeah.
this stuff is good for the next semester.
Yeah, it's okay. If you notice here, this is my new repository I made with Visual Studio now, right? So I have 3 commits. Wait a minute, I only made 1 commit. Where did the other 2 commits come from? Visual Studio. They added 2 more things. They added some git ignore and git attributes, which we'll talk about later, and also some project files. They added all the project files for me automatically, right? When I created my project, it did this, right? And then when I did my initial commit, it looks like it's the 3rd commit, but actually it's my first real code that I put up, all right? So now you've got your Visual Studio option. That's the other option you have. You have 2 options. So you can use Visual Studio or you can use Visual Studio Code. Both are more or less the same. It works just fine. And if you click on Google Chrome, it'll have this little server running that'll run in Google Chrome, and it'll run Hello World, no problem. Okay? So you guys should all have that right now. So it's your choice from here on in. If you want to use Visual Studio or you want to use Visual Studio Code with me, it's up to you. Okay? Also, WebStorm is something else we talked about, but I'm not going to demo that one. We don't have time. All right, so I'm going to get out of Visual Studio now because that was my demo. That was the last time you're going to see me use Visual Studio for the semester, right? But I wanted to cover it just in case that's what you chose to do. Okay? So I put this up, this little Lab 1 up on eCentennial. If you look at assessments, you know, there's an assignment up there, right, called Lab 1 GitHub Setup. That's due tonight at midnight, right? So what I want you to do is, what we're going to do now next is I'm going to create a project. I'm going to continue working with our project from yesterday is what I'm going to do, right? And that project from yesterday, I want you to, if you haven't done it already, create a GitHub repo, first of all, a GitHub account if you don't have one. Create a GitHub repo, put it up there, and we're going to work with it, and you're going to give me the link to your GitHub repo and a zip archive of your Git files, of all your project files. And if you look at the requirements, if you look here, and if I look at, you know, edit folder, you can see that inside here it gives you some instructions. So please follow the instructions carefully, right? So you get your 1%. So instructions: 1, create a GitHub account. You can use an existing one if you have one. Use the lab exercise in class, which is, you know, the project we just created yesterday and what we're doing today, right? And create a local Git repo for your project. You should already have that, right? But if you don't, follow along now and do it, right? In fact, you should be able to do this by the end of class if you're good. Using your GitHub account, create a new repo that is named this. So this might change. You might have to name this your repository, something like this on the cloud, right? I want even if you handed me something that was from yesterday and is not named this, it's okay. I would accept it. As long as you've got your own repo, okay? That's what I want it to be named. Connect your local repo to your GitHub repo. Well, we know how to do that. We have to create a remote, right? That was the remote connection. We don't have a remote, there's no connection, okay? Push your local branch to the master branch. Git push origin master, right? That's what I'm telling you to do here, right? Okay, a link to your new repo on GitHub is what I need for your submission. It kind of looks something like this. GitHub.com, whatever your account is called, COMP125, S2018, Lab 1, or whatever you called Lab 1, okay? A zipped archive of your project files on eCentennial. Please do not use RAR files. I will not accept it, all right? So that's what I'm looking for, and it's due tonight by midnight. These are individual submissions, so it's only by you. Don't collaborate with anybody else. I don't recommend it. It's out of 2. If you only give me your GitHub repo and not your zip archive files, you lose 1 mark. It's crazy. It's like 0.5%. I know people have done this, right? Or if you give me your archive but no zip, you don't give me your GitHub link to your GitHub, then you lose a mark. If you don't give me anything, you get 0, right? So that's really what it is. It's like kind of like a 0.51. Yes. I don't want to download. I want you to give me your zip archive, right? So that way it's a backup. This is the reason why I'm doing it. And when you do your assignments, I want both. Here's why. Sometimes, for whatever reason, your Git repo is non-functional, and I got nothing to look at, right? And sometimes your archive is empty, and so I got nothing to look at. But at least if I have a backup, one backs up the other one, I'm going to be able to give you some kind of marks. I'm struggling to give you guys marks sometimes. And this is my backup method. You make a zip archive yourself. You right-click and create a zip archive. Use 7-zip or use whatever it is to zip up all your project files and create a zip archive and put them up on eCentennial. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry? No FileZilla. There's no FileZilla here, just a zip archive. Okay.
So for this, we need to review your yesterday's.
Yes, you can do that, but we're going to do it now. We're going to continue working. All right. So, yeah. So here's this little lab one. It's worth 1% of your final grade due tonight at midnight. Okay. So you can't, unfortunately for you. Huh? Step by step. Follow the instructions. Follow the instructions. Look at my video from yesterday. Right? You have time until midnight tonight. Hmm? You have time until midnight tonight?
We have classes till 8:20.
Still not completely understood.
Okay, we'll try it out. We'll continue going. Okay.
8:20.
But normally it is.
That means you have 4 hours, right? Sorry.
No, but normally it is before the next class.
Let's see how it goes. Let's see if you understand by the end of class. If not, we'll see what maybe we'll change something. All right. Okay, so you'll be fine. Trust me, you'll be fine. You guys are all worried for 1%. Okay, let's continue here. So what I want to do now is continue with that project that I was working with yesterday. So again, I was working with a project on Visual Studio Code, not Visual Studio. So I'm bringing up Visual Studio Code, right? Here's my project from yesterday. So please, let's start from this place from yesterday. I'm going to reduce the magnification because it's a little bit too much for me. I'm going to go back down to 125%. Remember, I'm supposed to push you guys, right? So that's my job. All right, so here we go. And don't worry if it's perfect. This doesn't have to be perfect today. The only thing I worry about is try it, right? I mean, it's part of it. Let's go to here. All right, so this is my project. This is what we had yesterday. Any questions around the stuff we did yesterday? What do you mean?
How to do command prompt.
How did who?
How to do git command.
Were you here yesterday?
Yeah, there, but so complicated.
It's not
Look
complicated.
at the video on YouTube.
See the fine video. You know, so let's take a look here. So I've got my command prompt. I've typed in CMD for command, right? And now the other thing that I want you to show, I'm going to leave this up for a second. The other thing that you can do with Visual Studio is Visual Studio Code is right down here. You can actually go open in command prompt. Okay, so it actually does it right here. There's a little command prompt that pops up right in here, and it's exactly where you need to be, right inside Visual Studio Code, right? So it has a built-in PowerShell terminal, which is kind of cool, right? That's why I like it. Sometimes I don't use this one because it's too small, but you guys can see this one. So I've got both. I've got this one here. I can use that one or this one here. I'm going to use this one here that's built in now. So it's kind of one package. Right-click and then open or open in command prompt. Okay. Well, it's already there, right? You're actually already good. You're good, right? All right, so yeah, we're cool. I've got my command prompt here, and what I want to do now is I want to add some more stuff, right? Please don't get mad at me now, right? Because we're going to add some more things, right? I want to add in Bootstrap. Bootstrap, remember, is another library that we're going to add in, and you guys should know how to use libraries from last semester, but if not, it's okay. Let's do it together. So here's Get Bootstrap. Notice that there's something that says download, all right? By the way, there's great ways, easy ways, fantastic ways to get Bootstrap in 2 seconds without downloading, right? But we're not going to do that right now because it might confuse somebody. And I don't want to confuse anybody else. So I'm going to click download. What download is going to do is going to take me to, it's going to download Bootstrap. Bootstrap is 4.4.11, right? If you notice, here it is, under downloads. And what I want to do with this is unzip it. So I'm going to use my 7-zip. By the way, I've been talking about 7-zip. Let me just put this aside for a second. Let's go back to, that wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. Let's go back to this and go to 7-zip. So if I go download 7-zip, all right? What I mean is, please use 7-zip. Don't use the Windows unzipping platform, the uncompression. This one here. I recommend downloading the 64-bit version. I'm gonna put this onto Slack for you guys, right? So why am I recommending this? This way, everyone has the same compression and decompression software, because we're going to be sharing files together, right? So please go there and grab that. And you're going? You don't know what to do and you're leaving?
No.
Okay.
I'm just going to hospital with my friend.
All right. Enjoy.
I will post the photo on the Slack.
Good luck. Okay, so yeah, download. He's worried, but he's got to go. Download, the 7-zip, please, and install it. And when you download 7-zip and install it, it'll give you these options that I showed you. Notice up here, 64-bit. Yeah. Notice up here, if I go to my downloads, right? So if I go to downloads, I have this Bootstrap, and if I right-click, I get this menu that says 7-zip, right? You won't get that menu unless you download 7-zip. Okay. And you have to also include, I think you have to include add to the file explorer menu. All right, so if I go to here, you can see I can extract Bootstrap 4.11, right? I can extract it. It'll extract it nicely inside my downloads. And that'll appear probably somewhere at the bottom. There it is. And if you notice inside Bootstrap 4.11, I got all this stuff, right? Like a ton of stuff. GitHub. Data includes this, all this stuff, right? And there's also this thing called dist, and there's two. There's CSS and JS, these two folders. If I download the whole thing, I get all this stuff, bootstrap.4.11. But I don't need it all. All I need is this dist folder, right? Because my dist folder has the distribution files that I want. Only these two things.
I don't know why for me, when I'm on the main page, just press download, it actually takes me to a page where you can download just those two.
That's fine. I'm just showing you just in case someone clicked this download link, right?
I did though. I clicked the exact same thing as you.
I don't know, but it got me this. So if you do download and you get this, I'm going to just grab this dist, copy it, and I'm going to go to my desktop where I have my files. I'm going to put this up on GitHub for those people who don't have it yet. And I'm going to go to COMP125 where my files are, which is here on the folders here. So lesson 1A, right? And notice that I have scripts right here. I'm going to make another folder inside scripts. This is inside of my using my operating system. Okay, inside my operating system, I'm going to make a new folder, right, under scripts called lib. So I'm going to go file new folder, lib for libraries. And then inside my lib folder, I'm going to put in this folder, which is this distribution folder, which I'm going to call Bootstrap.
Once we have extracted this Bootstrap, where do we locate these two folders, CSS and JS?
I want both of them, right? So they're going to be inside my Bootstrap folder. Bootstrap, so it's going to be scripts, lib, Bootstrap, CSS, and JS.
At the desktop?
It's inside of my lesson 1A. I just went into my lesson 1A files, and I went into subscripts, and I put a new folder called lib, and I made something called Bootstrap, and I put CSS and JS. Yes, there are other ways to do it. So it's whatever way you do it is fine. Okay? All right, now if I go back to my Visual Studio, you can see that I've got 20 files that I've added because Visual Studio Code says I got a lib folder, and it's all green. See this green stuff? It means I got new files happening right here. And I've got my CSS part, and I've got my JS part, right? So my CSS and JS. All right, to enable Bootstrap in your application, you need a couple of files. One of them is your CSS file. Your CSS file should be before your app.css. Okay, before here, your CSS file should go here above it. So we need to make a space, and I'm going to go link And inside my link, I'm going to point to scripts, lib. And now I notice that CSS is in there, and you're like, wait a minute, you said that all our CSS is supposed to be in my content folder. It's true. But leave the lib library, because it's an external library, not my own. Leave it inside the folder of scripts. It's just a convention that I use, okay? So it kind of doesn't make sense 100%, but it's okay. So I'm going to go /scripts /lib /bootstrap /css, and then I'm going to pick that one that says bootstrap.min.css. That's the full path.
For example, the CSS and JS folders, how do you need to bring into the code editor?
Once you put, it's not in the code editor, it's in the operating system, right? And because the operating system and the code editor are reading the same thing, it's automatically in. As soon as you copy and paste into your project, and if it's inside Visual Studio Code, it's going to show up.
Oh, we need to link this way.
I don't link anything. Well, now I'm linking. I'm finally linking my bootstrap.min.css.
We need to create those folder CSS.
I'm copying them from my downloads into in my dist folder into my my desktop, COMP125 S2018 . Okay. So I've got this one. So Bootstrap, this is the first part of Bootstrap. You need the CSS. Okay. The second part of Bootstrap is it requires jQuery. We haven't got jQuery, which means you got to download jQuery too, right? I'm doing it the long way so you can appreciate the fast way. You're going to really be mad at me. I told you, don't get mad at me. I'm going to show you the long, ugly way to do it, and then we'll do the fast, beautiful way. And then you'll be like, Tom, you should have showed us this fast way first. Yes, it's fast, but there's other installation stuff I got to do, and you're going to get mad, right? All right. So yeah, so scripts, Bootstrap, and then I want to put my Bootstrap before my app. Notice that the CSS for Bootstrap comes before my custom CSS, right? Because I want to get the Bootstrap CSS, and then I want to customize with my own after here, right? So the same thing goes with my scripts. I'm going to say script, right? And I want to get my source, and now it's going to be /scripts /lib /bootstrap /js, and then it's going to be the bootstrap.min.js that I want, this one. So what does min stand for? It stands for minified or uglified, right? If I actually look at that file, it's a JavaScript file. I'm using a JavaScript library right now to make my front end look beautiful, right? Remember I said that there's two parts of, actually there's three parts. The three layers are structure, presentation, and behavior. So what CSS, this Bootstrap framework does is it takes care of your presentation layer beautifully. Makes you look like a superhero, right? So scripts, bootstrap.js, bootstrap.min.js, right? That's my link. I'll put this up on GitHub in a second, so you'll have my code too, just in case, right?
I'm just watching.
No problem. I know it's a lot. I know it's a lot. All right, so now there's these two. I'm missing jQuery, so I got to get that. Let's get that too. I know this is the long way, but I've got to do the long way before you appreciate the short way, right? So we're going to go to jQuery. If I look at jQuery, if I download jQuery, there's actually many ways to do this, but we'll do this way. So if you click on download jQuery, and jQuery is a JavaScript library that we're going to be using throughout the course anyway, might as well download it now. Okay, so if you notice, there's several ways to get jQuery. You can download jQuery, the compressed version. I can download the uncompressed version. I can download a bunch of stuff for it. Oh man. Oh, and they even have some other instructions. Hey, don't look there. That's the fast and easy way to do it. We don't want to do that yarn and npm and node stuff. We don't want to do that. All right, not for now. That's the easy and stupid easy way to do it. Right, the easy way that we can close one eye and do it. But we're going to do the hard way. All right. So understand, so you can feel it, how hard it is to do this, by yourself, right? All right, so download the map file, and it says download uncompressed. I want to get that, definitely get this one. So the uncompressed version of jQuery, I want to download this, and it looks like this. It kind of does one of those, right? Unless I right-click, right, and I say save link as, and then it says jQuery 3.3.1.js. And actually, let's try that again. That kind of sucks. It should say jQuery.3.3.1.min.js. I'll just rename that. And this is the minified version, and it should be inside your project files. So in my file explorer, I might as well just put it right where it's supposed to go. So I'm going to go into on my desktop inside my COMP125 S2018 lesson 1A. I'm going to go inside scripts. I'm going to go inside lib. I'm going to go inside, make a new folder. I want to make a new folder called jQuery, right? This is all while I'm downloading, by the way. And inside jQuery, I'm going to leave it as just this, right? So I'm not going to put a dist, just that's enough, right? Yay. I downloaded jQuery. I also want to download the map file from jQuery because map files are used for debugging, right? So I'm going to download the map file, right? So right-click and save link as. I'm already in there, right? jQuery. And then it looks like it's jQuery 3 min map. Save. Oh, I know why. I got the uncompressed version. I meant to get the compressed version. That's why it gave me the jQuery. That's fine. All right, good. We'll leave it as is. I made a mistake, but we'll keep going. It still works. So if you go here, if you look at your files, hold on. If you look at your files, you can see that under jQuery, I have two files, min.js and min.map.
Why did you read it?
Sorry? I made a mistake. Here, I'll do it again. I'll do it again. Notice it's not minified. I'll just get the minified file. I got the wrong file. Let's just try it again. Here, I'll just for you. So I right-clicked on this one. I meant to right-click on this one. So here, I'll just right-click on this one, save link as, and then now it's min.js. There we go. And if you notice the difference looks like this. If I click on a minified file, it looks ugly, like this, right? This is a minified file. And so does Bootstrap. Bootstrap looks like that too. If I go to Bootstrap and I kind of look at this min.js, it looks like this. So why do we use minified files? This is a lesson for JavaScript today as well. We use minified files because it actually increases performance on the website, right? Minification, what it does, takes all white spaces out and spaces and everything else and converts variable names that are really, really long to A's and B's, right? And so it compresses it, uglifies it, so it's as small package as possible. Remember that every time you go on a website, you make a request and you're downloading all the files from it all the time, right? Now you can use the CDN. We'll talk about what the CDN is later on, the Content Delivery Network, which actually caches jQuery in your code, but we're not going to do that right now. Yeah, the compressed file, sorry. All right, so now that I've got my compressed jQuery, I can go back inside my index.html, right? Because I need this part. Here's my index.html, and I need jQuery before Bootstrap. Bootstrap depends on jQuery, right? So typically what I need to do is I need to do script, and I'll put in a source, and the source is going to be /scripts, right? Here, let's do that again. Let's give me, so I get some good code hinting. I meant to do scripts, this, and then it's /scripts, and then lib, and then jQuery, and then jQuery.min.js. All right, and that's the full path. So now I've got jQuery, Bootstrap, and my app.js file, right? And this, my friends, is the requirements that you need to set up Bootstrap. Are you with me? All right. Now you're like, wait a minute. Why did we just do all that stuff? That's like way out of whack. Why do we care about this? This is only client-side, wait a minute. Client-side web development. Yeah, that's why we're doing it, right? Because CSS is a client-side framework, right? Bootstrap is a CSS client-side framework, and that's why we're using it. So hey, guess what? We added 22 files here. And you know these 22 files? This is a new feature I'm adding in. So I'm going to go here. These are all the files I added in. I'm going to stage them all.
Once this is done, we can add the links in the same.
Yeah, actually, you can just use my files. And then what I can do is I can say added jQuery and Bootstrap. That's what I did. That's my commit message, right? Don't understand this. You don't understand this one?
Yeah, don't understand.
All right, so what am I doing here? I'm basically going into my GitHub. This is my GitHub link, right? And I'm basically staging everything. That's what I'm doing here, right? And my Git link, I'm staging everything, and then I'm adding a commit message, right? And if I click this check mark, it's like me going git commit -m, and then added jQuery and Bootstrap inside that thing.
I understand it, but still to configure.
Okay. And then once I've done this, I'm going to go here and I'm going to push. And when I push, it's going to push everything up to GitHub. Okay? All right, good. So now that's been pushed. And if I look up on GitHub, right, just to get, if you guys want the latest version of my code, you can look up at GitHub. And if I go to this, oops, if I go to this, you can see now that I've got 3 commits. First commit was my initial commit. Then I added my IFE to my app.js. And then the third commit was this one, added jQuery and Bootstrap. Okay? I know this is a little bit of pain, guys. That's why we're doing it week 1. Sorry. But this is the new stuff. This is the new pain for you guys. That's okay. That's okay. We're going to go through it again and again, over and over again. All right? All right, so take a look. So we got added jQuery and Bootstrap in here. So this is my latest commit. And if you look at my code now, it also in my scripts folder, this is up online, you can see that I got a lib folder. And in my lib folder, I have jQuery. Here's my jQuery stuff. And in my lib folder, I also have Bootstrap with CSS and JS. Okay, all that stuff. Wonderful. All right, now we need to do the next part. We have to actually use the framework. So once we get it, how does it work, right? Well, Bootstrap has a bunch of stuff built into it. So if you look at Bootstrap, right, there's this getting started page, but there's also something called documentation up here. If you click on documentation, what Bootstrap does is it takes your page and divides it into 12 columns, okay? 12 dynamically stretching columns. That's what it does. So really, if you think about it, around 8%, something like that, right? Each column is around 8% of your page, okay? And I mean percent. I don't mean pixels, right? So if your page stretches and it's a really big page, it'll be 8% of that. If it's a small page, like a mobile device, it'll be 8% of that. So this is a great mobile-first framework. That's what we use, right? That's why we use Bootstrap. It's mobile compatible. And one of the examples is if I want to add in, there's some examples here for components. If you click on the left, there's components. And on the left, you can see that I have many different kinds of components. One of the most popular ones is a navigation. Here's my navigation bar, nav bar. I want to click on this nav bar here. And if you scroll down, you can see that there are some example nav bars. Here's an example nav bar. This is what it's going to look like, our navigation bar, right? Okay, I want to grab this example nav bar and put it in my code. This is not my code. This is Bootstrap, right? But it's okay. I'm telling you it's okay to use Bootstrap for your CSS framework, okay? So if I click this copy button, and then if I go back to my Visual Studio Code, right? And if instead of hello world, let's get rid of that for now, right? And we'll put in the navigation bar. So I'm going to Control V for paste. Right, so what the heck just happened? Yeah.
Did you copy the entire area?
Yeah. Well, I just pressed that little copy button, and then I copy paste on the right.
Yeah. Oh, there it is.
Okay. All right, so now that I've got that, I save, right? Let's test this out. Let's test this page out and see if it works, right? Again, what I want to do is I want to go to my, lesson 1A. I want to go to my index.html and double click and see what I got. Now I should see my nav bar that looks like this. So all I did was copy the nav bar from Bootstrap into my project, right? Now, in order for the nav bar to work like this, though, you need to have the components that we added in. You need to have jQuery, you need to have Bootstrap, you need to have your CSS in place. All those things have to be in place for this to work this way. Yes? You have a question? Okay. Now, this is the beautiful thing. Watch. I have a mobile compatible site, right? Take a look at this. If I go to here now, I actually have my, a working nav bar that I can do one of these with.
Can you rename the nav bar?
Absolutely. We're going to do that in a second. And by the way, there's going to be a time where we're going to make our own nav bar, right? We're going to do it by ourselves. I don't care about the search bar. I don't care about this stuff. I don't care about the drop-down menu. I don't care about any of that stuff. All I care about is this nav bar, the way it looks right now, how it nicely glows and everything, so it looks pretty. That's all I care about. So let's fix this. So inside my nav bar, I'm just going to hide my terminal for now, okay? So I'm bring it all the way down. And if you notice here, I've got some stuff in my nav bar. One thing I have in my nav bar as I scroll down is this thing that says on line 19 on my stuff, it says collapse nav bar collapse. There's also this other part here that says the nav bar toggler icon. This toggler icon is that little hamburger that you saw on the bottom, on the right-hand corner that looks like 3 lines, right? You see that for most modern mobile websites, right? That's the hamburger, and it used to be represented in a different way. But for now, this is what this icon is, right? Notice also that the navbar has this thing called MR Auto. That's what it has, right? It also has nav item active and a bunch of these list items. These list items inside of a UL, if you guys remember from last semester, the UL is an unordered list, right? And inside the unordered list, there's a bunch of list items that are the links. These are the links to each of the items. Link, here's a link. Here's a link, but in the link, it has this drop down. Well, guess what? I don't want the drop down, so I'm getting rid of it. And you know what? I don't want this disabled link, so I want to get rid of that. And I really don't care about this form that gives me the search, so I'm going to get rid of that. Okay? All I'm doing is getting rid of stuff. So now what we have is, we have one link and a link that says home. Right? Here's my link that says home. Right? And here's this link that says link. Let's change this link to about. Right? So it's my about link. Here's my home link. And also inside of my nav bar, there's something that says nav bar, right? And let's just put, I don't know, COMP125 in here. COMP125, right? Because about COMP125, home for 125, right? Up on the top, it says navbar expand -LG. So large navbar light, background light. This is the style of the navbar right here. So if I want to restyle this thing and make it a black navbar, just because I feel like it, let's go back to Bootstrap. And you can see that if I scroll down on Bootstrap, there's going to be some explanations on how to change the style. This is just a front-end CSS framework. That's all it is. I don't need you to remember Bootstrap or whatever. I think it's a great framework to use. Notice it says here, navbar dark, background dark. That's for this one. Navbar dark, background primary. Navbar light, background color, whatever color I want. Okay? So I want to use this one, navbar dark, background dark. So if I go back to this, I just got to change those settings. So navbar dark, background dark. Huh?
What was the header for that part of that page?
It's right here. It says color schemes. If you go look at color schemes, it'll be right there. All right, cool. So I changed that. And then if I go back to my page, which is the one I've been using, which is this one right here, and if I refresh, you can see now that my navbar is black, right? And I've got my home link, which doesn't do anything. I got my COMP125, doesn't do anything. My about link doesn't do anything. But now I've got some part of my page, right? By the way, if I right-click and go inspect, right? And if I look at console, you can see that hello world is there still. So all that's the same stuff that I had yesterday, still working today. Nothing broke, right? And by the way, when you add a new feature, guys, you need to check it out and see if it works, right? If you don't check it out and see if it works, you can assume that features are working. That's bad. But this is a great thing. Take a look at this. Now that my navbar is smaller, right, like a mobile compatible navbar, which you guys should have learned in web interface design, right? Then you can see that now I have two links, app, about, home, and about, and they're using this hamburger icon, that's what this is, to make it more compatible. I haven't done anything. Like, this is someone else's code, right? But it's a beautiful thing. It makes me look like a superhero, and you too, right? Of course it's legal, right? Otherwise, why would I be showing it to you?
Open source.
It's open source. You can use it for your commercial products, no problem. If you want to build a website with Bootstrap, and a lot of people do, but then it looks really bootstrappy, right? No, I'm being honest. It does look bootstrappy. So then you can make your own custom CSS to make it better. For now, that's out of scope of this course. We're just making it so that we just have this part that looks good. All right, good. So we've got our nav bar, and you can put some comments in your HTML to tell us this, right? So I'm going to say something like, you know, here's my main nav, right? And if I actually put my comments to work properly, like this, then that's good. I'm just putting comments. And then so I've added my main navigation in there. Right now, there's a placeholder for about and for home. I don't have those links. But if I want to link to my home, I know that it's you know, /index.html. That's what my home is, right? I don't have an about page right now, but I'm going to add it in. And notice there's this class that says SR only current, right? And notice over here you have nav item active. Nav item active, what it does for Bootstrap, it does this. It makes home like kind of a lighter color. And see how about is a darker color? So you know that we're not on the about page, but we're actually on the home page. That's what this nav item active does, right? Again, just using CSS framework. So what we want to do is if I have an about page, I want to move this nav item active to my nav item here, right, in my link. That's what I want to do. We'll do this later. But now we've got a nav bar and it kind of works. I'm pretty happy with it. So I want to add this into GitHub. So I'm going to go back to my Git link over here. Notice this is the only thing that's changed. It says M for modified. I'm going to click this plus up here to stage it. And then I'm going to say added Bootstrap navbar. Again, this is my commit message, my snapshot from my new feature. I'm going to click this check mark. I'm going to click this and then push. And now up online, you have my code, right? So you have all my code changes here. Good. Okay, I want to add one more thing and then we'll be done. And then we'll do the last part, which is getting you help to how to put your Git repository together and submit your exercise 1 or lab 1. So this is good, but I don't have a hello world message, and I would really like a hello world message. That's what I would really like, right? So I'm going to go back to Bootstrap. So here's my Bootstrap. Bootstrap has other components, right? Some really cool components, actually. One of them is called the Jumbotron, and it kind of looks like this, right? And it looks really neat, right? It has some messaging. And notice there's a Jumbotron example right here. I want to copy this whole thing that says hello world like this, right? And include it. So copy. I'm going to go back to my stuff underneath my nav and before my JavaScript section. I'm going to put in my Jumbotron. So here is my Jumbotron, right? And I'm going to kind of copy and paste that in there, right? I didn't do anything. I just like literally copied and pasted. There's like literally no work for you to do here, okay? And now notice that it gave us a couple of things here. It says button primary, button large, right? And there's a button. That's the role of a button. And it says learn more. Well, this button won't do anything right now, right? But if really, wouldn't it be great if we had an about page, right? I'm going to make that in a second. But we'll do 2 pages, and then we'll move on from there. All right, so I saved this one. So it's saved. And what I want to do, now that I've modified my index.html, you can see that this has been modified. I added a Jumbotron. Let's test it to see if it works first before I put it up on GitHub. So I'm going to go back to here. This is my page. And refresh. And now you can see that I got my hello world Jumbotron, right? It's exactly like cut and paste from Bootstrap. There's no difference here. By the way, guys, we're not going to just leave it cut and paste. Eventually, next week, we'll do something different with it. We'll do some stuff with JavaScript with it, right? But it's going to be a container that we're going to use fairly a lot. Learn more doesn't do anything, right? Home does go to my index. About doesn't do anything. COMP125 doesn't do anything right now. Okay, so nice and easy. But we've got this and it works. So that means that this is good. I'm going to add this to the staging area. I'm going to go here and I'm going to say something like added Jumbotron to index.html. So what am I doing here with these commits? I'm creating a story, a narrative for how I've built my application. That's what I'm doing, right? And then what I'm doing is if another developer goes and checks my GitHub, he can tell or she can tell, right? Hopefully there's more female developers in the future. We don't have enough of them. He or she can tell that, you know what? Hey, look, this is what Tom has done. He's done this, he's done this, he's done this. This is how he built up this application. It's a history of your app. And it enables us to skip backwards in time if something is not working. It used to work, now it doesn't work. I can revert back to my previous commit. I can even download my previous commit in another zip file, right? So it's really kind of cool. All right, so now everything's up on GitHub. This is all working nicely, but I would like to add another page to make this about page work, right? So let's go back to here. So here's my index.html. It's kind of lonely. I think index.html needs something else. It needs an about.html, right? Okay, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to copy and paste my index.html and duplicate it. So I'm going to right-click here. And notice it says copy And if I go back here and I go paste, right, it's going to make a copy called index1. We're just going to rename this one. So rename. This is all within Visual Studio Code. I'm going to call this about. Okay, now there's a problem. And here's something that I did wrong. Okay, notice I have my link, but my about page never pointed to my about. I do want it to do that, so I'm just going to do that right now. I'm going to go in here and go / about. I got to do it twice because I didn't do it, right? Because now this one points to / about. There's 2 nav bars, by the way, right? One nav bar on my about page and one nav bar on my index page. Wouldn't it be nice if my nav bar was on a separate page that I was able to inject into my index.html? Yes, it would be nice, but we can't get there now. We'll get there later on in the course because that's going to take Ajax to do properly. Okay, so index.html, about.html is cool. My COMP125 doesn't do anything. That's fine for now. But I do have another page, and it says about. So this one, this index.html, right, said COMP125, as an example. Everything's the same. And it said that also, if you notice, that my active item was my index.html. Well, I need to change that from my about page. In my about page, I want to make my active item my about link. So some of this stuff that I got here, like this span SR only current, I'm going to cut this out and put it over here in my about. And I'm going to cut this active part out here and put it in my active item here. So basically what I'm saying is when you go to the about page, the about link is active. When I go to my home page, the home link is active. That's all I'm doing. I'm making it so that it's brighter white or duller gray, depending on what it is, just to give you an idea that you're moving from one page to the other. Also, you know what? My Jumbotron, I want to keep my Jumbotron, but instead of saying hello world, let's make it say about COMP125. And let's change some of the stuff that I've got in here, right? Because I've got my lead. This is a sample hero unit or whatever. You can make this so that it says, where it says class lead, right? I'm going to say that this is a sample about page for COMP125, right? And it also says that, here it's going to say something like, we will be adding to this page throughout the semester. Something simple. And learn more, instead of having a button, let's just kill this learn more button. So we're going to have a button in my Jumbotron. But I will make my Jumbotron's button point to my about page. Why not? Right? So if I go back to my home page, my index.html, I can go back to my Jumbotron, which is right here. And this button, by the way, it says button, button primary, button large. Button primary in Bootstrap language means blue. That's what it means. If I want to make it yellow, it's button warning. If I want to make it red, I think it's button danger. Right? I mean, it's that simple. So I just used so learn more, right? That's what this is going to be. It's a button, but we need an href. Here's my href. Instead of it going to this thing, it's going to do /about.html, right? So now my button works. Wow, that's a lot of changes. We added an about, modified the index page, but we have to check this to see if it all works. How does it all work? Let's refresh. All right, cool. This is still good, right? And if I click about, this is about COMP125, right? If I go back to home, it's got hello world, right? About hello world. Learn more, home, right? All this stuff is working now. Now here's a challenge. What about my title? My title says COMP125 welcome, right? And it does say the same thing for this one, COMP125 welcome. And I would like my titles to be different. There's my title, and my title with my home should say home, COMP125 home, and then this should say COMP125 about, right? So I can do that in my pages. Again, this is all review, guys, from last semester. That's why I'm doing it with you guys. So you're like, good. So if you look, here's at the top in my title, right, where it says COMP125 welcome. We're going to change this one. We're in my index.html, this one right here. We're going to change this to COMP125 home, right? And we're going to say this one, save that. And then I'm going to say COMP125 about. So now you can see that there's different pages. We're almost there. We're almost there. I know there's a lot of stuff we've done today, but that's how we're going to roll. So, okay, so cool. One thing to note is that in our JavaScript, I swear this is the last thing. I swear, I keep saying that. It's the last thing. It's the last thing. It's the last thing. Wouldn't it be nice to identify what page we're on in my script? So in my app.js, we did this, but wouldn't it be nice to know which page we're on? How do I know what page we're on, right? So one time you're going to do one of these. You're going to go to your you're going to go to W3 Schools sometimes, and you're going to say, you know, use something like this JavaScript to detect title page or page title. And it's going to get a lot of responses. I'm going to show you what to do. Stack Overflow is a great tool. You're going to have to use it, right? Notice it's a DOM title property we're going to get into later on, right? HTML DOM title property. Notice it's in W3 Schools. W3 Schools is actually an awesome website for free that gives you hints on how to do HTML and CSS and JavaScript and jQuery and Angular and a bunch of other stuff, like tons and tons of stuff. And they keep on expanding this thing. I don't know when it's going to stop. Look, it's even got Bootstrap in there, right? Bootstrap, jQuery, PHP, SQL, tons of stuff, right? So this is what we want to do. We want to kind of do this title where my document object, remember we talked about in the beginning of the first class, we said we're going to kind of explore the DOM, the BOM, and the WOM, right? The DOM is the document object model, document. The BOM is the browser object model. And the WOM is the window object model, which is window.onload. Remember that window.onload part? That's the window. We need to use the document title. And I want to kind of show what my document title is every time I load up my page. So going back here, instead of doing this, we'll do our first variable, right? We're going to call this variable, to make a variable in JavaScript. This is the first and only JavaScript we're doing today, right? So I want to set you guys up with Bootstrap and everything else, is var. Var means variable, right? And then we're going to say the name of the variable, right, which is title. We don't care about type because JavaScript is loosely typed, and this which is a weakness. We're going to end a string, and we're going to say title is equal to document dot title. Okay, nice and easy. So then what's happening is title itself, if you hover over it, it says it's a string by default, right? So document title, the document object, that's what this thing is. If I hover over it, and that's why I like using Visual Studio Code. It tells you what it is, right? It's a type of document. Here's my title. The title is the type string, right? So it tells you what type it is, right? And then what's happening is it's taking this and setting the value of title, the variable, to the value of document title, the title on the document. That's what it's doing. It's assigning the document's title to the title variable. Now I want to use the title variable, and I want to output it right here, right? So all I need to do here is say something like title plus, I'm concatenating title. And what this is going to do is, this is the old way of doing it. We're going to show you the new way later on, right? It's going to print out the title of my page every time I load it inside my console, all right, if we did everything correctly. Okay, so first, here's my variable, and we can have this. This is our local variable, right? Because it's local to this scope, local to my start function scope, okay? That's my local variable, and these are just some console commands I'm outputting to my console. And here what I'm doing is I'm concatenating. I'm taking this string, which is called title, and I'm adding this variable's value to the string. And so it's going to print out both the title string plus the variable's value. Okay? Again, this is all stuff that we're going to do throughout the semester. If you don't understand something right now, don't worry. All right, let's do a couple things. Let's save all, right? So we're going to save all. And what we want to definitely do is check to see if this works. So we're going to go back to here. We're going to go back to here. And we're going to refresh. Title, COMP125 about. Home, title, COMP125 home. So we're detecting which page we're on. Guys and girls, this is the first part of detecting where I should change my script, my tag automatically through JavaScript in my nav bar. I'm doing it manually right now. but I want to have JavaScript do it automatically. We're not going to do it today, right? But it should detect what page I'm on, and depending on the page I'm on, it's going to set that particular nav link active. For now, don't worry about it. I just want to be able to print out the page. We're done. Okay? So again, we've done this thing. We've added in some JavaScript to detect the page. That's another feature. I'm going to go to here, and I'm going to go to here. Notice that these things change. I also added a new about page. That's new. That's what U means. So I'm staging these all these three objects, these three new files, or changes to the files, plus this new file. And I'm going to say something like added about page and simple title detection. It's a longer message, and typically you don't want to be too long with your messages. I'm going to click on this check mark. I'm going to go to here and push. And now, my friends, everything is up online. All right. So just to finish off, how do I do my lab 1? I've given you lab 1, right? Take my files from my GitHub. Make a new repository on in your own GitHub, right? Create a Git, go through the whole process, Git init, Git add dot with my project as if it's your project. So download my project, make a whole new folder for my project, or rename it so it's called COMP125 S2018 Lab 1. Rename it. Okay, that's what I would do. Once you've renamed this thing, now let's do it together. Yeah, let's finish the project together. This is what we're going to do. Ready? Let's do it. So this is your chance to do it with me, and then otherwise you're going to have to wait till midnight. All right, so here's my Centennial. I'm going to submit my project, right? So here's my lesson 1A. Here it is. I want to go to it. I want to download it, right? So when I click onto it, I want to download it. So download, zip. And it's going to take me to my downloads file. This is it. In my downloads, I've got this zip. Notice it says master 1 because I already have this zip file, but now it's new. So I'm going to expand it by using 7-zip. I'm going to put this into expand it. Here we go. And on the bottom, this is where my 7-zip is right here, right? I want to kind of cut this thing out or copy it to my desktop. Here it is. So here's my desktop. By the way, there's many ways to do this. I'm just showing you the perfect way to get your 1%, right? So I'm going to kind of go to the bottom here, and I want to paste. There it is, and rename it. So it's not going to be called COMP125 S2018 Lesson 1. It's going to be called COMP125 S2018 Lab 1, right? Which is what I wanted you to rename it. Lab 1. That's the first step. You got it? Lab 1. It's pretty simple. Okay, now that I've got this in here, right? I need to do all that GitHub stuff. Let's do it together. So here's my COMP125 Lesson 1. Here's my COMP125 S2018 Lab 1, which I renamed. I just took my files, downloaded them, expanded them, put them on the desktop, and renamed it to Lab 1. That's all I did. Now let's pull up my command prompt and do everything that we need to do. Command prompt, right? There it is. And now I'm going to do CD for change directory. That's what it stands for. Space, drag and drop. Right here's Lab 1. Okay? So for those people who are going to watch the video later, these are the exact steps you need. Okay? Git init. Git add dot. Notice all those ones because there's a lot to add right now, right? Okay, git commit -m initial commit. Let's clear the screen now. Okay, and let's do a directory so you can see what you got here. Oh no! Oh my God! I made a mistake. I did make a mistake because what's happened is inside of Lab 1, there's another part to it. So what to do? Oh my God, don't panic is the answer, right? What you can do here is you can undo everything. What if you have this .git folder? You can delete it. If I delete my .git folder like this, right? There's no more Git. It's gone, right? So you're going to have to do that one time. The other thing is I got my real part 1 right here. So let's rename this one to what we have to be. This is going to be, actually, we'll make it lesson master 1 to bring it out into the fold. So we'll bring this, I'll cut it, just in case you got this situation, because I had a master 2, and I'll paste it in here. Here it is. And I got this lab 1 that's kind of empty and useless, right? Which is this one. Let's just delete this and try again. So let's rename this thing. It's not a disaster, guys. All right. You just have to rename this thing back to lab 1. And now we can do that all again. Actually, it's just a refresher again. Lab 1. Sorry, but it happens sometimes when you download stuff from the internet. All right, cool. So there's COMP125 S2018 Lab 1. Let's try that one more time. You guys are going to tell me the commands. All right. So CD space. I'm going to drag and drop, right? This one in here. Here it is, Lab 1. I'm going to do a directory first. You can see that those are the files I want this time. Git init, right? Initializes my Git repository. Git add dot. Adds all the files. Git commit -m initial commit. It names my first snapshot, initial commit. Clear the screen.
First was git init.
Git init. Always git init initializes my Git repository. Git add dot adds all my files. Git commit -m creates my first snapshot, right? Called the first commit.
Dot, right?
Sorry?
Yeah, the space add dot.
Git add space dot. All right, and then now that I've got this, it's my local repository is ready, but I haven't connected to my remote. Let's make a remote repository called S2018 Lab 1. You'll have everything you need here, okay? I'll even make it on Centennial, all right? Let's do it. So if I go to Centennial, here's my Centennial College, right? I'm gonna make a new repository, either by one of these 2 buttons. Let's use this one. And we'll call it COMP125 S2018 Lab 1. Guys, this is like, I'm telling you exactly what to do. All right, now, all I need is these last 2 lines of code right here. These last 2 lines. I'm gonna copy them. Right, Control C, or Command V on the Mac, Command C on the Mac. And then right here, if you right click, and you can see once I right click in my terminal, I automatically have them, and enter. Guess what? Your lab 1 is done. That part. Now I need 2 things. I need the link and your zip archive of your files. Let's zip our files up too to show you what I'm talking about. Like really give you everything. All right. So if you look at it here, if I refresh, you can see now this is my link right here. This is the link. So when I do my submission, I need this whole thing as the link. Don't give me just this part. That's just your account. Don't give me the account. I need the whole thing. It has to be this. That's the link.
So we need to do it inside Centennial.
I'll actually put it inside your Slack. This is the link for Lab 1. All right. That's the link I need. It'll be yours instead of Centennial. It won't be Centennial. That's mine. It'll be your account that'll be replacing my Centennial College. All right. And then I need to archive everything. Like I said, how do I archive? Well, if I go back to the desktop, right? Here's my archive. I'm going to right click on this thing. If I've got 7-zip, all I have to do is right click and compress. If you notice, it says compress an email, or if I just add to lab1.zip, this one here is fine. If I do that, it gives me my archive. This is it. And this file right here, you can submit to eCentennial. So I need this file plus my link to get to the GitHub link. That's it. That's your Lab 1. Questions? We got 1 minute. I know it's a lot, but guys, you have everything you need by watching the video and following these steps. All right? And remember that these exercises aren't supposed to be hard. They're supposed to be proving that you're here, participating and trying to make this work, right? That's part of this participation mark. It's an easy 10% if you just do these exercises every single time. That's it for me, guys. I will see you next week on Tuesday at 12:30. Thank you so much.